And in our last video of learning, we have studied what is learning and some of the theories. But in this video, we'll try to cover some of the definitions, case study, and the theories and the concept briefly. So, what is learning? Learning is a fundamental process that underlines human development, adaptation, and growth. It is the process through which individuals acquire knowledge, skills, behaviors, and attitude. In this blog, we will explore the concept of learning, the various theories that explain how learning occurs and its significance in our lives. According to John B. Watson, is one amongst the first thinker who has proven that behavioral changes occurs as a result of learning. Watson is believed to be the founder of behavioral school of thoughts, which gained its prominence and acceptability around the first half of 20th century. And this, the learning can be defined as the process of acquiring new information or modifying existing knowledge, beliefs, behaviors, skills, values, or we can say attitude through experiment, study, or teaching. It involves the acquisition of knowledge or the ability to perform new tasks and is often result in change in behavior. According to E.A. Peel, learning can be described as a change in individual which makes place as a result of environmental change. According to Edgen Kushalmeir, it described learning is a process which leads to some behavioral change as a result of some experience, training, observation, activity, etc. Now, we're going to learn about some of the characteristics, key characteristics of learning process. When described in the simplest possible manner, learning is described as an experience acquisition process, or in the complex form, learning can be defined as a process of acquisition, retention, and modification of experiences. It re-established the relationship between stimulus and responses. It is a method of problem solving and is concerned about making adjustment with the environment. Lastly, it involves all those gamuts of activities which may have a relatively permanent effect on an individual. The process of learning is also concerned about experiments, experience, acquisition, retention of experiences, and experience of development. In a step by step manner, synthesizes both old and new experience for creating a new pattern. Learning is concerned about cognitive, cognitive, and affective aspect. Knowledge of acquisition process is cognitive, change and emotion is effective, and cognitive is acquisition of new habits or skills through the continuous training, sessions, and workshops. Next one, we're going to learn the types of learnings one by one. First one is motor learning. Our day to day activities like walking, running, driving, etc., must be learned for ensuring a good life. These activities, to a great extent, involve muscular coordination. Verbal learning. It is related with the language which can be communicated, which is used to communicate, and various other verbal form of verbal communication such as symbols, words, language, sound, figures, or signs. Third one is concept learning. This form of learning is associated with higher order cognitive processes like intelligence, thinking, reasoning, etc. We can learn right from our childhood. Concept learning involves the process of abstraction and generalization, which is very useful for identifying and recognizing things. Fourth one is discrimination learning. Learning is distinguished between various stimuli and its appropriate and different responses is regards as discrimination stimuli. Next is about learning of principles. Learning which is based on principle helps in managing the work most effectively. Principle based learning explains the relationship between various concepts. Last one is attitude learning. In this, attitude shapes our behavior to a very great extent as our life or as our positive or negative behavior is based on our attitudinal predisposition. The concept of learning is quite comprehensive as it covers a broad range of activities. Many books and the theories of learning is also regarded as a kind of learning. The theories of learning are an organized set of principles that explain how individuals attain, retain, and recall the learned knowledge. Learning theories establish the conceptual framework for explaining how information absorption, processing, and retention takes place during the time of learning. Human learning is influenced by a gamut of factors like emotions, emotional, cognitive, past experiences, and environmental factors. Learning theories prescribe the right format and methodology of learning for making the learning effective and more impactful. During early 20s, many psychologists become increasingly interested in understanding the relevance of learning from a scientific perspective. For a scientific orientation, the study of psychology gave importance to only those variables which are quantifiable and measurable. Environmental influences like reinforcement, association, observation, and punishment influence the learning process. The key learning theories are classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and learning by observation. That is also called social learning. Let us have a closer look at all these three major theories of learning. First one is classical conditioning. The three types of behavioral learning, the behavioral school of thought, which was found by John B. Watson, was which was highly in a seminal work, Psychology as a Behavioralist View It, stressed on the fact that psychology is an objective science, and here, hence, a mere emphasis on the mental process should not be considered as such processes cannot be objectively measured or observed. Watson tried to prove his theory with the help of his famous Little Albert experiment, by way of which he continued a small kid to be scared of a white rat. Behavioral psychology describes three types of learning: classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and observational learning. Classical conditioning. In a case of classical conditioning, what is it? The process of learning is described as stimulus response, connection, or association. Classical conditioning theories have been explained with the help of Pavlov's classical experiment, in which the food was used as a natural stimulus, which was paired with the previous neutral stimuli. That's a bell in this case, by establishing an association between a natural stimulus, that is food, and a neutral stimulus, that is sound of bell, the desired response can be elicited. This theory will be discussed in detail in few of the points. The key premises of classical conditioning theory was established by a Russian psychologist named Ivan Pavlov, who first discovered the crucial principle of classical theory, which helped and which, with the help of an experiment done on the dog to study their digestive process. The Nobel Prize laureates of 1904, while studying a digestive process in dog, came across a very interesting observation during his experiment. He noticed that his subject would be to salivate by seeing a lab assistant with a white lab coat entering into a room before being fed. Through Pavlov's theory or discovery is originally an accidental discovery, but later, with the help of in his experiments, the classical conditional theory came into existence. His classical conditioning theory plays a very crucial role in explaining the importance or of psychological concepts like learning and equaling, establishing the foundation of behavioral school of thoughts. Behavioralism. is based on two major assumptions. That is, learning takes place as a result of interaction with the environmental forces, and second is the environmental forces plays an important role in shaping the behavior. What happened is, according to Pavlov's classical conditioning theory, learning takes place because of association, which is established between a previously neutral stimulus and a natural stimulus, that is, a food and a bell. It should be noted that classical conditioning places a neutral stimulus before the naturally occurring reflexes. In this experiment, it tried to pair a natural stimulus, that is food, with a bell sound. The dog would salivate with the natural occurrence of food because after repeated association, the dogs salivated just by hearing the sound of the bell alone, and the focus of classical conditioning theory is on automatic and naturally occurring behavior. Key principles of classical conditioning theories, that is, acquisition. This is the starting stage of learning, during which a response is established firstly and then gradually strengthened. During the acquisition phase, a neutral stimulus is prepared with an unconditional stimulus, which can automatically or naturally triggered or generated a response without any learning. Once this association is established between the neutral stimulus and unconditional stimulus, the subject will exhibit a behavioral response, which is known as conditional stimulus. Once the behavior response is established, the same will be gradually strengthened and reinforced to make sure that the behavior is learned. Second is extension. Extension is expected to take place when the intensity of conditioned response decreases or disappears completely. In the classical conditioning, this occurred when the conditioned stimulus is no longer associated with or paired with the unconditional stimulus. Third is about spontaneous recovery. When we learn or a conditioned response suddenly reappears after a brief resting period or suddenly reemerges after a short period of extension. The process is considered as spontaneous recovery. Third and the fourth one is stimulus generalization. It is a tendency of the conditioned stimulus to evoke the similar kind of responses once the responses have been conditioned, which occurred as a result of a stimulus generalization. A stimulus discrimination. The discrimination of the ability of the subjects to discriminate between the stimuli with another similar stimuli. It means not responding to those stimuli which are not similar, but responding only to a certain specific stimuli. The theory of classical conditioning has served the applications in the real world. It is very helpful for various pet trainers for helping them or training their pets. Classical conditional techniques can also be beneficial in helping people dealing with their phobias and anxieties issues. The trainers or teachers can also put to practice the classical conditional theories by building a positive or a highly motivated classroom environment, by helping students to recover their phobias and deliver their best performance. Propounded by a scholar like Edward Thorndike firstly and later by B.F. Skinner. This theory stresses on the facts that the consequences of actions shape the behavior. The theory explains that the intensity of a response is either increased or decreased as a result of punishment or reinforcement. Skinner explains how, with the help of reinforcement, one can strengthen behavior and with punishment reduce or curb behavior. It was also analyzed that the behavioral change strongly depends on the schedule of reinforcement with focus on timing and the rate of reinforcement. Renowned behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner was the main proponent of operant conditioning theory. In this, it is for this reason that the operant conditioning is also known as Skinnerian conditioning and instrumental conditioning. Just like a classical conditioning, instrumental or operant conditioning lays emphasis on forming associations, but these associations are established between behavior and behavioral consequences. The theories stressed on the role of punishment and reinforcement for increasing or decreasing the probability of the same behavior to be repeated in future. But the condition is that the consequences must be immediately follow a behavioral pattern. Focus on operant conditioning is on voluntary behavioral patterns. The key component of operant conditioning, first one is reinforcement. Reinforcement strengthen or increase the intensity of behavior, and this can be positive and negative. Positive reinforcement. When a favorable event or an outcome is associated with behavior in the form of rewards or praise, it is called as positive reinforcement. For example, a boss may associate bonus with outstanding achievements at the work. Third is about negative reinforcement. This involves a removal of an unfavorable and unpleasant events after a behavioral outcome. In this case, The intensity of a response is strengthened by removing the unpleasant experiences. Next is punishment. The objective of punishment is to decrease the intensity of behavioral outcome, which may be negative or positive. Positive punishment involves application of punishment by presenting an unfavorable event or outcome in response to a behavior is spanking for an unacceptable behavior is an example of positive punishment. Negative punishment associated with the removal of favorable events or an outcome in response to a behavior which needs to be weakened. Holding the promotion of an employee for not being able to perform up to the expectations of the management can be an example for a negative punishment. Reinforcement schedules. According to Skinner, the schedule of reinforcement with a focus on timing as well as frequency of reinforcement determined how quickly new behavior can be learned or the old behavior can be altered. Next is about observational learning. The observational learning process was propounded by Albert Bandura in his social learning theory, which focuses on learning by imitation and or observing people's behavior. For observational learning to take place effectively, four important elements can be essential. That is, motivation, attention, memory, and motor skills. According to Albert Bandura, learning cannot simply is based merely on association or reinforcement, which has mentioned in his writing in his book of social learning theories, which was published in 1977. Instead, his focus was on learning based observation, which he has proven through his own uh, Bobo Joel experiment. He recognized that children keenly observe their surroundings and the behavior of people around them, particularly their caregivers, teachers, and siblings, and try to imitate those of the behaviors in their day to day life. He also tried providing through his experiment that children can easily imitate the negative behaviors or actions as compared to the good ones. Another important principle of Bandura's social learning theory was that learning sometimes by the way of observation need not necessarily means that it would lead to a change in behavior. This behavioral change is entirely influenced by the felt need or motivation of a person to endorse and adopt a behavioral change. Key steps involved in or observational learning, that is attention. Attention is very important for learning to take place effectively by following observational technique. A novel concept or a unique idea is expected that attracts attention far more strongly than those which are routine or mundane in nature. Second is about retention. It is the ability to store the learned information and recall it later, which is equally affected by a number of factors. That can be time, or memory, or act. That is reproduction. It involves practicing and emulating the learned behavior, which will further lead to the advancement of the skills. Next, last one is motivation. Motivation to imitate the learned behavior of a model depends a lot on reinforcement and punishment. For example, office goer may be motivated to report to office on time by seeing his colleague being rewarded for his punctuality and timeliness. Now we're going to take a case study and understand what is the basic and enhancing learning culture at TechX. Background is TechX industry is a fast growing technology company specializing in artificial intelligence solutions for businesses. For past few years, the company has experienced a rapid expansion, doubling its workforce and expanding its product offspring. However, with this growth came challenges related to knowledge sharing, skill development, and maintaining a cohesive learning culture. The main challenges were despite having a talented workforce, TechX inclined noticed a gap in the consistency and effectiveness of learning across teams. New hires often struggled to integrate into existing projects quickly, and there was a noticeable disparity in skill level across departments. Furthermore, the company recognized that innovation and competitiveness depended heavily on continuous learning and adaptation to new technologies. Furthermore, we'll take around strategies to address these challenges. TechX decided to revamp its learning and development strategies with a focus on building a reverse learning culture. The following initiatives were implemented. First one is structured onboarding programs. Developed comprehensive onboarding programs for few hires that includes both technical training and immersion into the company's culture and values. Monitoring and buddy system were introduced to facilitate knowledge transfer from experienced employees. Next one is a skill development framework. In this, established a clear skill development framework for different jobs role within the organization. These frameworks outline competencies needed at each level and provided employees with a roadmap for career progression. Next is about learning resources and platforms. Invested in outline learning platforms and subscription to technical journals and resources. Employees were encouraged to pursue certification and attend relevant conferences and workshops to stay updated with industry trends. Next one is cross functional learning opportunities. It introduces cross functional teams, projects, and knowledge sharing sessions to encourage collaboration and learning across departments. This not only fosters the innovation, but in this case also broke down silos within the organization. The last one is feedback mechanics. Implementing regular feedback loops to assess the effectiveness of L&D program surveys, focus groups, and one-on-one discussion with employees help to identify the areas for improvement and tailors learning experiences to meet the specific needs. Next one is about result. The initiatives undertaken by TechX yield significant improvement in the company's learning and learning culture and overall performance. First one was improved employees engagement. Employees reported higher satisfaction with their growth opportunities and a stronger sense of longings within the organization. Second is about enhanced productivity. Team became more efficient as knowledge sharing and collaboration increased, leading to faster projects delivering and higher quality outputs. Next one is was attraction and retention of talent. Tech X became known as a company that invests in its employee development, attracting top talents, and reducing turnover rates. The last result was about innovation and adaptability. In this, the company became more agile and responsive to market changes, with employees readily adopting new technologies and methodologies. In the last, we're heading towards the conclusion of this, that was by prioritizing learning and development as a strategic imperative, TechX not only addressed its initial challenges but also positioned itself as a leader in the competitive technology sector. The case of TechX demonstrated how a strong learning culture can drive organizational success and empowering employees, fostering innovation, and ensuring long term growth and sustainability. Now we are heading towards the frequently asked questions. First one is what are the learning theories and why they are important in education and training? Learning theories are a framework that describes how people learn and acquire knowledge. They are crucial in education and training because they guide educators and trainers in understanding how to design effective learning experiences that facilitate learning and retention. Second, we are going to discuss is about what are the main characteristics of learning theory. Categories. Learning theories can be broadly characteristics into behavioralist theories, that is classical conditioning, operant conditioning. Second is cognitive theory, that is information processing theory and constructivism. Last one is social learning theory, that is social cognitive theory, situated theory learning, or last one can also be observational learning. Third one is how do behavioralist theories explain learning? Behavioralist theories such as classical conditioning by Pavlov and operant conditioning by Skinner set emphasis observable behavior that results from stimuli in the environment. Learning is viewed as a changes in behavior due to reinforcement and punishment. Fourth one is what is constructivism posits that learners actively construct their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiencing things and reflecting on those experiments. It emphasizes the role of prior knowledge, social interactions, and hand on learning. Next is about what is the role of motivation in learning according to learning theories. Learning theory suggested that motivation plays a critical role in learning outcomes. Behavioralist theories highlights external rewards and punishments as motivators, while cognitive and social learning theories emphasize intrinsic motivation, self efficacy, and goal settings. Sixth of the question is how do learning theories inform instrumental design practice? Learning theories provide guidelines for designing effective instructional strategies and learning environments. For instance, behaviorist principles might inform the use of reinforcement schedules, while constructivist principle might encourage inquiry-based learning and collaborative activities. Seventh is about what are the implication of learning theories for personalized learning. Learning theories underscores the importance of recognizing individual difference in learning, styles, preferences, and prior knowledge. Personalized learning leverages these insights to tailor instrument and learning experiences to meet a unique need of learners. Next question is about how do learning theories explain the transfer of learning in new situations? Learning theories address how knowledge and skills acquired in one context can be applied or transferred to new situations. Cognitive theories emphasize the role of mental responsibilities or representation and scheme formulation, while social learning theories highlight observational learning and model. Next, last second is about what are the criticisms or limitation of behaviorist, cognitive, and social learning theories. Critics argue that behavioralist theories oversimplify complex human learning process and neglect cognitive factors. Cognitive theories may not adequately address the social and contextual aspects of learning. Social learning theories sometimes struggle to explain individual differences in learning. Last one is about how the contemporary learning theories adapting to technological advancement and digital learning environment. Complementary, sorry, Contemporary learning theories such as connectivism and network learning explores how technologies influences learning through networks, digital tools, and online communities. These theories emphasize the role of digital literacy, collaboration, and access to information in modern learning contexts. Now, what we have studied in this video, your whole concept about learning theories, that is conditioning, classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and learning by observation, is somehow clear to you. And what are the fundamental cognitive processes involved in learning and how they interact to facilitate the acquisition, retention, and application of knowledge and skills across different domains. Learning involves several cognitive processes, including perception, that is, interpreting sensory information, attention, that is, focusing on relevant stimuli, and memories, that comes from encoding, storing, and retrieving of information. And the last one is reasoning, that making logical connection and drawing conclusions. These processes interact dynamically. Perception influences attention, which in turn affects memories and coding. Retention occurs through rehearsal and consolidation process and long-term memory, where information is stored and organized for future retrieval. Application of knowledge involves cognitive flexibility, problem solving, and critical thinking. Integrating prior knowledge with new experiences across domains. These processes adapt to verify context and learning goals, shaping how individuals understand, adopt to, and engage with their environments. Second is, to what extent do individual differences in cognitive abilities, such as memory capacity, processing speech, and executive functions, impact the learning process? And how can educators and trainers optimize instrumental strategies to accommodate these differences effectively? That is, individual differences in cognitive abilities significantly influence learning outcomes. For example, learners with high memory capacities may excel in tasks requiring rote memorization, while those with a strong executive function may excel in planning and decision making. Educators can optimize instrumental strategies by employing differentiated instruments, providing multiple modalities for presenting information like visuals, auditory, and offering scaffolding techniques to support diverse learning style. These techniques, such as providing frequent feedback, promoting metacognitive strategies like Self monitoring and self assessment can enhance learning for all learners, regardless to their cognitive profiles. Third is, how do socio-culture factor, including cultural background, social norms, and peer interactions, shape the learning experiences of individuals within educational context? And what implication do these factors have for fostering inclusive and equitable learning environments? Sociocultural factors profoundly influence learning experiences by shaping learners' values, beliefs, and the way of interpreting information. Cultural backgrounds impact communication style, expectation for learning, and approaches for problem solving. Social norms and peer interaction contributes to collaborative learning, where knowledge is co-constructed through dialogues and negotiation of meaning. Fostering inclusive and equitable learning environment requires educators to recognize and value cultural diversity, promotes cultural sensitivity, and integrate diverse perspective into the curriculum. Strategies such as culturally responsive techniques, collaborative learning groups, and inclusive classroom practices enhance engagement and academic achievements along all learners. Fourth is, what role does metacognition plays in providing self-regulation learning, and how can educators and learners cultivate metacognitive techniques and strategies to enhance academic performance, problem solving skills, and lifelong learning capacities? Metacognition refers to the awareness and control of one's own learning process. It involves planning, that is, setting goals and strategies, monitoring, that is, assessing progress, and evaluating, that means reflection on outcome. Metacognitive strategies such as self assessment, self questioning, and goal setting empowers learner to regulate their learning effectively. Educators can cultivate metacognition of by technique and teaching explicit metacognitive strategies, encouraging reflection on learning processes. And these provide opportunities for students to access their understanding and adjust their learning strategies accordingly. Cultivating metacognitive skills enhance academic performances, fosters critical thinking and problem solving abilities, and promotes lifelong learning by equipping learners with the tools to adapt to new challenges and learning context. Next question is about, in what ways do emerging technologies or theories of learning, such as connectives and digital learning ecologies, changes traditional conceptualization of knowledge acquisition and dissemination of in the age of digital technology, and what are the implications for designing innovative learning environments and curriculum? Emerging theories like collectivist process purpose that learning is distributed through networks of people and digital resources, emphasizing the role of technology in education and knowledge creation and dissemination. Unlike traditional theories, the focus on individual cognition, connectivist views learning as a process of navigating and participating the interconnected networks. These challenges traditional hierarchical structures of knowledge dissemination and encourage educators to design innovative learning environmental that leverage digital technologies, fosters collaborative learning communities, cultivate digital literacy skills, and curricula can integrate real-world problem solving, inquiries based on learning, opportunities for global collaboration, and preparing learners to thrive in an interconnected, information rich world. Sixth is how does the integration of interdisciplinary perspectives, such as neuroscience, psychology, and educational philosophy, contributes to a deeper understanding of underlying mechanism of learning? And how can interdisciplinary research inform evidence based practices in educational and organizational settings? Integrating interdisciplinary perspectives enhances our understanding of learning by examining it from multiple angles. Neuroscience provides the insight to brain processing, underlying learning, and memory formulation. Psychology explores cognitive, social, and emotional factors influencing learning outcomes, whereas educational philosophy examines theoretical framework guiding educational practices and goals. By synthesizing these perspectives, educators can develop evidence-based practices that aligns with cognitive practices and principles, leverage motivational strategies, and promote inclusive learning environment, interdisciplinary age, that is, research informs the design of effective instrumental strategies, curriculum development, and professional development programs, fostering continuous improvement and innovation in educational and organizational settings. Next question is, what are the ethical considerations surrounding personalized learning approaches, including data privacy, equity in an access to educational resources, and the potential impact on social cohesion and cultural diversity within diverse learning communities? Personalized learning approaches aims to tailor educational experiences to individual needs, preference, and learning style. Ethical consideration includes ensuring data privacy and security when collecting and using personal information, promoting equity in accesses to educational resources and opportunities, these addressing potential disparities like learning outcomes among diverse learner problems. The personalized learning supports social cohesion by fostering collaboration, empathy, and respect for diverse perspectives. Educators and policymakers must navigate these ethical considerations thoughtfully, balancing the benefits of personalized learning with the need to safeguard learner privacy, promotes equitable access, and maintain a cohesive learning community that values diverse and inclusion. If thus, how can theories of motivation include intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, goals orientation, and self determination theories be leveraged to foster a motivational climate that supports sustainable engagement, resilience, and academic achievements, avoiding learners of all the age and backgrounds? The answer can be very briefly explained that motivation theories provide insights into the factors that drive behavior and influence learning outcomes, whereas intrinsic motivation arises from internal desires for mastery, autonomy, and personal satisfaction. While, on the other hand, extrinsic motivation involves external rewards or consequences. Goal oriented focuses on learners' beliefs about intelligence and efforts in achieving success. Such discrimination theories emphasizing the importance of autonomy, competence, and relatedness in forensic intrinsic motivation. Educators can foster a motivational climate by aligning instrumental goals with learners' interests and values, provides opportunities choosing for the choice and autonomy, offering constructive feedback, and promoting the growth mindset that celebrates efforts and resilience. By cultivating a supportive learning environment that nurtures intrinsic motivation and self determination, educators empower learners to engage actively, persist in face of challenges, and achieving meaningful academic and personal growth. Here, we add these frequently asked questions that we have studied throughout the video. In this video, we have covered